It's the midpoint of the GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS season, and a second stop at a familiar Japanese venue, the former home of the Pacific Grand Prix in the early 90s, previously known as TI Aida, but now as the Okayama International Circuit. Set 45 minutes from the city of the same name, it's tight, unpredictable, and a post-COVID favourite for our Asian series. GT World Challenge spans across the globe, from America, Australia, Europe and Asia, with some of the most spectacular vehicles racing today. From Aston Martin to Audi, BMW to Corvette. We see a lot of Ferrari 296 GT3 cars, particularly with their Evo package for 2026. Ford Racing Mustang will appear in Asia in 2 weeks' time at Suzuka. The Lamborghini, also a new mark for this year. No McLarens in GT World Challenge Asia, but plenty of Mercedes, but really Porsche, the favourite car in the Asian field. SRO is the architect of modern GT racing, but also so much more than that. GT World Challenge, powered by AWS, runs as 4 series across 4 different continents. Asia has races in Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan and China in some breathtaking scenery. Last time out in Fuji, Max Hesse led from pole for round 6 in his team KRC BMW, but it was a 3-way fight for top honours, with Porsche Lu Wei taking victory with teammate Laurin Heinrich. Australia traverses the country from the stunning Phillip Island to Victoria, to the fast-flowing track of Queensland, and east with the final in the iconic Adelaide. Their last rounds were in the Hidden Valley track in Darwin, which saw some epic battles under the gaze of local wildlife and the Royal Australian Air Force. Australia will see its next event in Sydney. In America, 3 different states have hosted GT World Challenge this year: California, Texas and Florida. And this weekend are joined by Wisconsin, with an 8-hour final at the legendary Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Europe has already visited France, England, Belgium and Italy with dramatic results. Belgium's CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa is the pinnacle of SRO GT racing, with 70 cars running the iconic track at the end of June. But for round 5, the Italian track of Misano hosted 2 races by the sea. Fans were there to get close to legend Valentino Rossi, and 42 cars saw plenty of action. Europe's last event saw 2 one-hour sprint races at Manicourt in France, with 1 race going into the night. It was pole sitters Jules Gounod and Danny Ucadella who took the Max Verstappen Racing Mercedes-AMG to victory with a faultless drive. The following day, race 2 saw Nicky Team in his Aston Martin take pole, but a jump start gave him a penalty which would drop him to the back. This crash brought out the red flag, and at the restart, Spa 24 Hours winners Line Speed took victory. And that brings us to this weekend, where we have something quite special. 3 continents are hosting GT World Challenge races on the same weekend. Nowhere on the planet would you ever see this. In America, Road America plays host to round 4, a 3-hour encounter. Whilst in Europe, their endurance series heads to the historic Nürburgring. And here in Asia, it's round 7 and 8 in Japan, all on the same weekend. It's Mercedes that lead the global manufacturers coming here to this weekend, with Porsche just behind and Ferrari closer than ever. And the calendar sees us our second port in Japan before finishing our championship in China. Beijing Street Circuit, followed by the Shanghai International Circuit. In 8 races here, we have seen 6 different winning manufacturers, with Ferrari the most prominent. Harmony Racing took the first 296 victory in Asia here last year, and team boss David Chen will be hoping for a repeat performance with his silver car in winning race 1 in Fuji. Back in 2024, Akash Nandi took his sole victory here in Okayama aboard an Audi R8. Still with Absolute, but now in a Lamborghini that has also run around this venue. But this weekend, he will not be sole silver. Instead, he'll be sharing with Sandy Stuvik, who steps up to see if they get Nandi back on the top step. Another Malaysian joins the field as well. We welcome back Adrian De Silva for his first GT World Challenge Asia foray in Japan. Team EBM have been racing to get this car ready after its late arrival into Okayama. He shares the car with Enzo Trulli. In a championship fight, having taken a double podium in Fuji, Lu Wei retains Laurin Heinrich for this round. While at Phantom, we welcome for the first time Ayhancan Güven, a third teammate to Anthony Liu this season. With another new livery, Huang and Ghiretti come in with a 4-point advantage. The circuit, 3.7 kilometers in length, a fiddly and tight layout with a lap record of 1:28.5 set last year by the Ferrari 296. Let's have a look at what this track looks like on board a BMW with Neil Verhagen.
Hello everyone, this is Neil Verhagen driving the number 89 KRC Racing BMW M4 GT3 Evo, and I'm going to take you now for a lap around Okayama. So coming out of the last corner, starting the lap, a little bit of a long straight here, getting the sighting in for turn 1, just after the bridge, going for the brakes. Easy to get a little bit understeer on entry, so you want to stay close to the curb, tracking out all the way to carry the speed. Very cool section here, high speed. Get the car in early. Use the track. Going through the now S's before turn 6. Very high speeds part of the circuit. Very important to get the braking zone right for turn 6. Again, like turn 1, getting into the apex, staying there, and using all the track on the exit. Onto the longer straight of the track now, heading towards turn 7. We're going down. Picking the braking is going to be very important here. Good overtaking opportunities in the race. Hard on the brakes, down a couple of gears, and again, staying as tight as possible on the inside. Opening up turn 8 now, using as much of the inside as possible, using as much from the outside now. Quickly down a gear into turn 9, and heading now towards turn 10. Again, I think very important here around the entire track, just staying close to all the apexes, staying tight, staying neat and clean, and again, down another gear for turn 11. My favorite part of the track coming here, the final 2 corners. Open up as much as possible, use a little bit of the inside curb, and then very quick coming last corner that leads onto the front straight, which would be another overtaking opportunity in the races. So thank you guys for coming for a lap with me.
Neil Verhagen, the American, our driver's eye around this Okayama International Circuit. It's always been a bit temperamental, the weather, and today is no less. Cloudy skies, 33.5 degrees air temperature. Humidity dropping though since this morning. Track temperature up to 43 degrees. But literally, I was outside enjoying the sun 5 minutes ago, and the clouds have rolled over. The wind has picked up. There was forecast for rain, but last year we had forecast for rain. You could see the rain around the circuit, but there's so many mountains around this Okayama circuit that I think they get trapped in valleys and then they don't make any way forward. We've had some big drops of rain overnight. The circuit was clean. We've gone back to a green track again, and so the rubber being laid down by our Japan Cup and GT World Challenge qualifying sessions. So cars making their way to the grid. Audi looking very good in qualifying for race number 2. They locked out the front row, but the AM qualifying session, so qualifying number 1, not quite as strong. Have to watch out for Andres Pato. Starts down on row number 7. On the front row though, starting second for both races is car number 16. Great qualifying combination from Kung Fu Cheng and from James Yu Kwai. Obviously this one, the silver race, the preferred silver race, and that's why we have Gojigen Nissan right up there. Actually the slowest of the 4 silver-silver combinations. They start 5th position because Anthony Liu qualified a fraction fast, sorry, Wei Lu qualified a fraction faster than Aoki and put himself onto row number 2. The big story, though, from this morning, that returning to the championship, Sandy Stuvik, who's been a reserve driver for Akash Nandi throughout this year, spent most of the season so far sitting beside me in the commentary box, jumps in the car and gets 4 pole-winning laps. Not just 1, 4 laps better than everybody else in the field in qualifying number 1. A mighty, mighty performance from Sandy on his return. He's no stranger to driving GT3 cars. He races GT3 in the Thai Super Series. He also races a Ford Raptor truck in the Thai Super Series, which is quite a special machine. And of course, in GT World Challenge Land, was a pole man back in 2017. He had pole position for the last 2 races of the year. And actually, that was in a Lamborghini. GT Academy is a big story for the under 30 silvers. Let's go down to Aoki and find out more.
I'm here with Miyake Senshu, who is leading the points in the GT Academy. GT Academy に対してちょっとお聞きしたいんですけど、今ポイントリーダーでスパの24時間のレースがかかってるレースなので、今日は攻めますか？
そうですね。僕は今ランキングトップですけど、もちろん僕としても海外のレースに挑戦したいなと思っていますので、ランキングトップですけど攻めの姿勢を崩さずに追い上げる、今回5番スタートですけれども、しっかり上位でゴールできるように頑張りたいなと思います。
このチャンスは日本人のドライバーとして特別ですか？
そうですね。やはり海外に行く機会っていうのは正直日本からだと少ないと思うので、やはりこういうアカデミーというところに僕参加させていただいて嬉しいですし、やはりこういうチャンスをものにしたいなと思います。はい。
じゃあ英語を勉強してください。
はい。通訳の人いっぱい連れてきます。はい。
So he is very, very excited to have an opportunity, if he is going to end the season with the top points in the GT Academy, to race the Spa 24 hours, because as a Japanese driver, there's not many chances that they can get to drive overseas. And I asked him if he could speak English. He said he's just going to bring a lot of translators. Thank you.
An opportunity for 4 under 30-year-old silver drivers from the 4 different GT World Challenge Championships to join together at Spa next year for the 24 hours in a prize offered by SRO. An absolutely incredible prize. A very difficult, complex calculation made after each race for those that are entered. We've got 7 drivers that are eligible from our grid. It's not just about pure lap pace, it's about consistency. If you get penalties, you get penalised. And lots of things are taken into consideration. Miyake has the most points in GT Academy at the moment, but it is very, very close. I think Akash Nandi's a bit far off, but James Ukwai is also part of the battle for the end of the season. I'm trying to think. Elias Sepinen is another. I can't remember who the 4th is. Great to have LM Course back with us. They joined us back in Fuji after missing a couple of races, and a yellow Ferrari. I do like a yellow Ferrari. Let's go back down to Hannah Burton, who is our pit reporter for this weekend. She's going to be talking to Sandy Stuvik on the pole position.
So you're starting here at pole today. It's your first race back in GT World Challenge Asia since 2022. What is the key point for winning today's race?
I think just try to get a clean start, and then hopefully we have an uneventful first stint, and then I'll just pass it over to Akash, and hopefully we finish in a strong position.
Hoping the best for you today. Good luck.
We know from qualifying that Akash is around 10th position pace when it comes to the second part of this race. And so ideally, Sandy scuttles off up the road and makes a decent gap for Akash to take over the car. It's a difficult place to overtake this Okayama circuit. And so as long as he can stay out front, I don't think he should be challenged too badly. Lamborghini, of course, taking a victory here back in 2024, that was. as we were mentioning in qualifying, lots of different brands have won here at Okayama, and only once in Porsche, for Porsche. Frankie Chen has also won previously. Let's go to speak to him.
You are starting from the front row today. How do you feel about the Audi here at Okayama at such a technical track?
Yeah, I think Audi around here is very competitive, and especially my two teammates, James and Jackson, has proven that Audi is really, really strong around the Okayama track, and I'm looking forward to the race.
Is there anything that you want to look out for?
Yeah, and then hopefully we have a smooth, planned race and bring some strong results back to the team.
Great, thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Audi, a previous race winner back in 2024 with Akash Nandi and James Yu Kwai. James Yu Kwai, the teammate to Frankie Chen. Frankie actually hasn't won at the venue, but has won in that Audi this year in Mandalika in race number 1. As I said before, silver race number 1. We don't have any success penalties rolling into the silvers from Fuji, because when silvers finish in the top 3, they do get penalised heavily for the second race. Success penalty for the number 11, for the 37 and for the 89. Those 3 cars are top 3 from Fuji race number 2. No solo drivers this weekend. Obviously Akash Nandi in that Lamborghini has been a solo driver so far, and Sandy has just been the reserve driver. Usually we get 7-second penalty for being a solo driver, and basically the team decided, well, let's try Sandy as a teammate to see whether it will help negate the penalty of the 7 seconds. Well, I think we can clearly see that Sandy is very much on pace with Akash, and there is no penalty for having a second driver alongside him. It might even be a Brucey bonus, and so that probably means, considering Sandy's on pole position, that he has that seat for the rest of the season. Let's see how the race pans out. Sandy's 2 poles in GT World Challenge Asia were in Lamborghinis as well, back in 2017, where he was the full season entry in that silver class car. New livery for the 911, our championship leaders, denim livery. You can only really appreciate it when you get that close to the car. But that car is quite far down on our grid. It will be starting in 14th position, Huang. And I think there's a little concern in the Porsche camp that, like history shows, this is not necessarily a Porsche circuit. You have to go only one Porsche win here with Lu Wei and Bastien Buss in race 2 last year. Really kicked off Lu Wei's championship challenge last year. Let's go back down to Hana and find out more.
Traditionally, the circuit hasn't seen much success or results from the Porsche. What do you feel like is the most difficult part about driving a Porsche here around Okayama circuit?
Actually, for this week, I think the speed on the street, because as we can see, our BOP now is not very good for this week, but compared with last year, Porsche were really strong here. We got better traction than the other cars, but now I think our weight a little bit too much. So for the tires, for the speed on the street, we're a little bit struggle now.
What do you think are the key points for you to be able to move forward? I know that you're fighting for the championship.
For me, I needed some luck, because I was really unlucky in the qualify. Some car was really still ahead of me, but with Okayama, it's really hard to overtake. Even with the blue flag, he didn't let me through. So in the race, I need a little bit luck with the race start. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough.
I give you all my luck. Good luck.
Down in 14th position, the 911. The 37, though, with Anthony Liu, 6th spot, and Wei Lu, 4th position. Look at the livery, though. It is a very... I don't know which one is my favourite so far of the different liveries, because this car has had a different livery in every single weekend, but this one is right up there. and it's great to see it close up so we can really appreciate it. Quite a long way to the front of the grid, which is underneath the bridge. Further back, though, is another sexy livery, JJ Song, with his iridescent, multicoloured, changing colour car. Brendan Leach will take over that car, running up, is runner-up in Australia right now. Second position in that championship, Brendan Leach. But really strong result last time out in Fuji. Feel as though Harmony Racing have got on top of the Evo machine, which is quite a lot more technical to set up than the previous iteration GT3. When you get it right, it definitely rewards you, but there's so much more to do. It's harder to find that peak. Championship leaders, the number 22, qualified down in 15th position for Liu Hangcheng, but always at the sharp end of the AM category. Watch out for the number 77 though, not 77, 75 in the AM category, because two new drivers in that car, Cold Max Yamatatsu. They are both graduates of the Ferrari Challenge Japan Championship, which has finished already. And Cold Max was the winner here in Okayama earlier in the year. Yamatatsu is the champion of that championship, and they will be sharing car 75, which is the Garage 75 machine, which we usually see David Tipto Banturo run. Hana's back down, grabbing another driver. She's at the front of the field with Wei Lu.
You're very close to the top in championship points. Starting from row 2, how difficult do you feel it is to make it up to the top?
I'm pretty relaxed. Yeah, like since Fuji, I finally have a proper car to drive. This weekend is really nice too, even though the BOP is not the strongest, but still quite good to drive. So I just want to enjoy my driving. Yeah.
Very good things to hear. Good luck.
Yeah, Wei Lu has struggled this year so far with that car, and I think it was something to do with, and I'm completely speculating here, but I reckon the team were trying to get him to run a more pro setup. Obviously, an amateur driver needs a more comfortable car to drive, doesn't want the issues and the edginess that a pro driver will perhaps be happy with. And so there's always a compromise when setting up a car for a Pro-Am. And I think what the team were trying to do was push Lu Wei towards a more pro setup. And he was really, really struggling with that. They've now managed to find a way to make that comfortable for him. And obviously, since last time out, where they took a double podium in Fuji, Wei Lu, much, much happier boy. Car starting to fire up then. We are getting ourselves ready with the 1 minute board being shown to our drivers. It's a tight first right-hand turn. A few cars out of place perhaps. On board with Anthony Liu. We'll start in 6th position, has Wei Lu just ahead of him. Both of those two have success penalties. The other car is Tony Ruohan in the 89 BMW that was 3rd in Fuji Race 2 with a 5-second success penalty. And we wait for the lights to turn green. Safety car heading off. So all these GT3 cars do have air conditioning. On these warm-up laps, that air conditioning will be pushed up to full, but when it comes to flat-out racing, they'll want every little bit of horsepower they can get. They'll turn that air conditioning off and just have to suffer the 34 degrees air temperature. 24 cars came to Okayama. We've got a grid of 23 machines with the EBM, Earl Bamber Motorsport Porsche, pulling off the grid in last position. A car that was only delivered to the circuit on Friday morning. A great job from Earl Bamber Motorsport to get that car turned around. Adrian De Silva and Enzo truly getting a couple of laps practice on Friday evening before qualifying. So pole in Am to the Origin Motorsport Porsche, with Silver Am going to Climax Racing. That car, by the way, has changed its number. Used to be car 27, now car 81. A black number 11 for Wei Lu rather than a purple number 4. And then the Lamborghini now with 2 drivers on pole in silver. Lots and lots of things to get your head around. Here's the full grid. Sandy Stuvik on the pole, Frankie Cheng alongside, and then David Chen and Lu Wei on row number 2. Row 3 is the Nissan with Anthony Liu alongside him. Wakisaka in the number 7, in 7th, in the LM Corsa Ferrari alongside Lili Chao. Tomohiro Yamaguchi strong in the BMW in 9th with another BMW alongside Tony Ruohan. And then Nagai and Brian Lee on row number 6. Andres Pato in the 2nd of the Audis in 13th with Ron Huang, championship leader, 14th spot. Watch out for him. He's only just ahead of the Am poleman, Liu Hangsheng, and then JJ Song in 16th. Setuan Santoso in 17th position with Daisuke Yamawaki, the new Am in that Craft Bamboo car. Hazik O, Malaysian driver, 3rd in Am alongside a new driver to our championship, Kazuki Ota. Great to have him in the 918. Cold Max, as I mentioned earlier, 21st. Andrew McPherson will start race number 1 in a change to their schedule with Ben Porter, and Adrian De Silva will start the Earl Bamber Motorsports Porsche with that throwback livery. So cars on their 2nd formation lap, as is customary here in GT World Challenge, and the timer starts ticking after the 1st lap is completed. So we are under racing conditions. It does mean we lose a couple of minutes off the race time to do this 2nd formation lap, but it is important just to try and calm the driver's nerves a little bit, to try and generate more temperature into those Pirelli tyres and through the rims into the brakes as well. Laurin Heinrich down in the Origin garage. There's Klaus Bachler at Absolute watching on. Klaus Bachler, teammate to Kazuki Ota, who's come from Car Guy in Japan Cup for this weekend. So not only is he in a new championship, he's also in a brand new car, so no wonder he's down at the bottom end of the grid. Anthony Liu in championship contention in that 37 car. Victory to his name 3 races ago now in the 2nd race in Mandalika, where he shared that car with Luke Hartog. Dorian Boccolacci has had 2 2nd places alongside Anthony. But it has always been the 2nd race of the weekend where they've been stronger. And now Ayhancan Güven will finish this 2nd race. Right, cars now starting to form up in the traditional side-by-side formation. They must go through those grid hatchings down towards the line. And the line is a long way down the main straight, so there'll be a lot, a bit like we see in Fuji, of temptation to stamp on that throttle. Here they come then. All 23 cars nicely formed towards the lights. Lamborghini versus Audi on the front row. And it's a great start by Sandy Stuvik, who moves a little bit to his left-hand side to cover off Frankie Chen with some carbon fibre in the middle of the pack. And Frankie's backed out of it a little bit, so holds up the rest of the field. More carbon fibre goes flying in the middle of the pack. And Sandy Stuvik has a clear track ahead of him and behind him. No real challenge from Frankie Chen into turn number 1. And the Lamborghini scuttles off into the distance further back, dust being kicked up, and perhaps a little bit of a problem here for Anthony Liu, who gets dive bombed by the Climax Mercedes, and the 911 Ron Huang goes through. And is that a puncture perhaps for the number 37, because he really is dropping back, and we've seen carbon fibre at turn number 1, and he's almost pulling off to one side is Anthony Liu. Disaster for the championship for Phantom Global Racing. Stuvik leads, Cheng second, then David Chen in the Harmony Ferrari, then it's Wei Lu. And then I think it's the Nissan after that in 5th position of Aoki. Here we are on board, and the big red light in the middle of the dashboard indicates that he has a warning, and I bet that warning is saying puncture for Anthony Liu. Where it happened, presumably a tiny, tiny kiss of contact into turn number 1, and yes, confirmation there, rear right puncher for Anthony Liu. Oh, and a bit of bodywork comes flying off as well. Was that a bit too much damage? There's now a piece of bodywork sitting in the centre of the circuit, which Sandy Stuvik does not want. Here comes David Chen looking down the inside of Frankie Cheng. No space, it's so hard to overtake around this circuit. So hard to have enough of a braking zone to really jam it down the inside. Your best opportunity really is into turn number 5, that big stop. Well done to the marshals for getting what looks to be the lining of the wheel arch that's fallen off. But I think Anthony Liu's going to go a lap down here. Comes into the pits and has lost a great deal of time already. Huge gap between Stuvik and Cheng, 2.2 seconds after 1.5 laps. Nissan with that straight line speed, blast past Wei Lu and up into 4th position. The Nismo, one of the strongest down the straight. The Porsches, by the sounds of things, one of the weakest. And Anthony Liu is going to be able to get out of the circuit in front of the queue. So if we have a safety car, that is good news. It will bring him back into the pack. But for the moment, he is just going to have to just pedal around as much as he possibly can. Must have been the lightest of touches into turn number 1. We will, I'm sure, get a replay at some point and to see, well, number 1, who's lost bits of bodywork as well, because we saw a fair bit of carbon fibre go missing. Presumably the strakes from the front end of one of our GT3s. But Stuvik, 3.6 up. He is banged in a lap, under 1 minute 30. Nobody else anywhere near him. Super, super confident in these early stages. But there is a certain amount of tyre preservation needed for these Pirelli tyres, especially in hot conditions. Right, now let's have a look at the replay then. Looks like a good start, so there shouldn't be any investigation there. But the contact surely comes later on down into turn number 1, or does it even come here? There's a tiny bit of contact there with Lu Wei, and oh, I think it might it be the Nissan there rubbing with Anthony Liu, or perhaps even into turn number 2. Yeah, Liu comes across on the Nissan, and there's a tiniest bit of contact, but I think also Lu Wei had some contact into turn number 1. Good reaction time from Anthony Liu, gets alongside Wei Lu, he's looking to his right-hand side. There's the first bit of contact. And I'm surprised that Wei Lu doesn't have more damage there. Gosh, another bit of contact with Frankie Chen. Chen's been really, really careful here. And there's that little tap. The lightest of touches. And instantly the warning comes on, the red light on the dashboard. And Anthony Liu has been very, very unlucky there when you consider that Wei Lu had 2 bangs and is fine. Anthony Liu has the lightest of touches and is not. Stuvik at the head of the field, doing exactly what he said he needed to do to Hana. Build as big a gap as possible. Scuttle off into the distance. Frankie Cheng holds on to 2nd position. David Chen in 3rd. And then Aoki in 4th position. Don't think there'll be any investigation into his behaviour. It was all very, very light touches. Doesn't look like there's any real vibration or any issues from the Nissan's point of view, anything abnormal. There is, of course, a fair bit of vibration regardless. Good opportunity for Nissan to take victory here. The 4 silver cars, first, second, third, and 4th. And then Wei Lu, the leader of Pro-Am. Actually, interesting to see it's the silver Ram leader up in 6th position. So Li Chao has had a very, very good start in that 81 car that was previously 27, and runs well ahead of the second silver, or the second AM, because of course everybody from 4th back are all AM drivers. Huang up to 9th position, so made up 5 places. Got 2 big BMWs to help him down the main straight ahead of him in Yamaguchi and Tony Ruohan, 7th and 8th. So not a lot of progress made from those two. They sit just off the tail of Li Chao, so doesn't look like there's an opportunity for the moment. David Chen's had a couple of nibbles at the back of the Audi, but maybe has decided against it. Don't forget, success penalty, 15-second success penalty to the number 11 Porsche and the 89 of Tony Ruohan. So that will drop those two further out of the pecking order. There's our AM leader, Liu Hangcheng. At the moment, crawling all over the back of Andres Pato, down in 12th position. That's number 15 car is starting on pole position for tomorrow's race, thanks to Jackson Evans. And Jackson's going to have a lot of fun if he's handed over a car in 12th position to carve through, if he can, the drivers ahead. Don't forget that in the second half of this race, we'll put pro drivers in the Pro-Am cars and silver drivers in the Silver-Am cars. We'll have silvers in the silver cars, of course, and therefore we expect the pack to concertina up. I have to say, one thing I'm really enjoying about GT World Challenge Asia 2026 is it is a lot less dramatic. It is a lot more well behaved. We don't see the chaos that a 33, 34 car field has brought in previous seasons. A lot more safety cars, and this year particularly, last race in Fuji we expected chaos, haven't seen it, and same rules apply here. Everyone really behaving themselves. Best lap of the race to Sandy Stuvik, who has a 5.2 second advantage. My only question mark is how, if Sandy pushed too hard on those early laps and taken too much out of his Pirelli tyres. Only time will tell, and only when we get to the end of the stint do we know. But we have seen the Lamborghini fade at the end of a stint. Whether that's to do with Akish Nandi's fatigue, because of course at the start of the year he was the only driver in that car, so he faded at the end of the race because he was doing a whole hour's race, and the Lamborghini definitely does not have air conditioning. Or it is a little bit more greedy, let's say, on his tyres. Right, on board with the 500. 4th position, we've got David Chen in the Ferrari along ahead of us. Chance to see which gear and when that driver is able to pick up the throttle. Over 200 kilometers an hour towards the back end of the circuit. Down to 2nd gear in this car. Of course, everything, all these rules change depending on the brand, depending on the car. The gearbox ratios will be different between a Nissan and a Ferrari and a Porsche, so one gear selection for one car is not quite the same as another. See, standardized gear set, so it's not necessarily going to be using 6th gear here at all. Not dropping down to 1st. You can, I wonder if actually the Nissan will drop to 1st down here. Oh, that's a shame, we just came out of it, because these two hairpins are so slow. I wonder whether you bang in a 1st gear just to help the car rotate and get that de-acceleration as the car dips on its nose, and it helps the car turn left and right. Over the line, completing lap number 8, Sandy Stuvik, leading silver of course as well, and has a nearly 6-second advantage over 2nd in silver and 2nd in this race. Frankie Cheng, nobody Nobody has dipped under the 1 minute 30 barrier apart from Sandy Stuvik. Wonder how Anthony Liu is doing further back. Well, he's still able to set fast laps, got clear track around him, but a 1:30.8 his last lap. As our second in silver. James Jukwai very strong in qualifying as well, so looking forward to seeing what he can do. Wipers on, and is there a bit of rain falling? My commentary box window suggests yes. This is not in the playbook, or is it? I think Peter Daly, our race director, told me that it might rain, but then Michael Verges, our driver steward, said it wasn't going to rain. Depends on the app you look at. So much humidity though, that water is going to burn straight off the tarmac unless we get a proper rain shower. There's our Pro-Am leader for the moment, Wei Lu. But our first two in Pro-Am, both with success penalty. Going to promote the team study Yamaguchi, number 5, up to a very strong position post pit stops. I sound surprised because this car, the team study car, has not finished higher than 13th this year. If I look at my stats from last year, it never finished in the top 10. And its best result, obviously, back in 2022, the year of pretty much Japanese only, post-COVID. So this is a lot stronger running for the moment for Yamaguchi, who will hand over to his pro. Fourth in Pro-Am is Ron Huang. 9th overall. Still the wipers are on. Here's number 27, now number 81. Climax Racing's Li Chao, leading the Silver Am category. Elias Seppänen was very fast in practice, but we've sort of seen that throughout the year, that Seppänen gets fast. Oh, Li Chao running a little bit wide through turn number 6, shuts the door on Tony Ruohan. Try and rectify his issue. Got a big BMW to slide up the inside, but Li Chao looks like he might be the first to start struggling with the traction there. Was that rain-induced, or was that concentration? He's got 2 BMWs and a Porsche crawling all over the back of him. On board now with the Nissan, wipers on. And the rain is definitely not very strong, and I don't know whether that was a rain-induced mistake from the Mercedes or a concentration error from Li Chao. But drivers are really going to have their wits about them, and do not forget that these guys are the AM drivers, so adjusting to unpredictable conditions is where you really have to start to shine. Tough, very, very tough indeed. There's the AM leaders. It almost looks worse. I mean, this circuit is tiny, but it almost looks worse down here at turn number 5. Lian Cheng aboard the number 22, and he's got a couple of cars between himself and Setuan Santoso, who is second in the AM category, with Hazik O third for an increased Malaysian representation. We've now got 4 Malaysians in the lineup. Plenty of Malaysians in our camera crew and TV crew, but from being 1 Malaysian at the start of the year, we now have 4. Here's Stuvik. Watch the gap. It was 5.8. I think that's going to increase quite dramatically on this lap. Oh, the gap just disappeared off our graphics. It's 5.9, so actually it's slightly smaller than it was, as Frankie Chen finds a little bit of grip in the first sector. Oh, but it's really raining now on the main straight. Looking outside my window, this will have a great effect, and they really need to be careful going down into turn number 1, because suddenly this is not just a little bit of rain. Difficult to see from our TV pictures at the moment, and certainly it doesn't look like it's raining at all. This does not look like the same place that I am sitting. Down into turn number 3, someone is sliding around. Oh yes, we've got 2 cars heavily into the wall at turn number 1, and that is exactly what I feared. Malaysian Haziq O into the wall, as is JJ Song into the wall, and drivers need to be super careful going into turn number 1. Marshals will have flags out, and look how much wetter it is here than it is round the far end of the circuit. Oh, we've got a digger out on the circuit as well. I hope the race control are covering that, and we do go full course yellow. Good work from race control to get this race neutralized. Full course yellow, of course, means gaps stay the same, and that big accident down at turn number 1 is all due to the fact that it is sodden outside my window. Like super localized little shower, that, because it didn't really look very wet where we were watching the racing. Now, that's a different part of the circuit. That's turn number 5, where Satuan Santoso has gone off at the hairpin. And that's actually in a very different part of the circuit to turn number 1, even geographically. But Satuan will have dropped positions. And all of the work that Sandy Stuvik did to build an advantage will now be undone by what will surely be a safety car after this full course yellow. The big problem, though, is that the cars are running around at 60 kilometers an hour on slick tyres on what is rapidly becoming very wet conditions. 5 minutes before the pit window opens, so presumably, number 1, you wait and put wet tyres on then, or you don't put wet tyres on at all and hope that it doesn't continue to rain, because the pro drivers will be able to deal with that much better than the AMs. See, that particular shot is not really showing much rain falling. On board the Nissan, Wipers doing its thing. And it is starting to fall heavier again at my commentary box position right in the middle of the main straight. So now the wets begin to be prepared. Well, those aren't wets, those are slicks. Those are wets. All the options down in pit lane. As I said, we are still waiting 4 minutes before we open pit window. And logically, all the AMs would come in at the top of the pit window. I wonder if we can find, was it Wei Lu who had contact into turn number 1? Remember, we saw both in turn 1 and 2 quite a bit of carbon fibre going flying. We didn't fully identify whose carbon fibre it was, I don't think. Now, there's a much better representation from Anthony Liu of his rain. Funny windscreen wiping rhythm. He still seems to have a red warning light on that dashboard. We've got the dashboards blurred out to protect the privacy of the teams, but it does seem as though there's a red light suggesting something is still amiss on that car. Of course, he's going to benefit from this safety car. Still in the number 72, JJ Song, and happy to hear that both drivers are okay, because that was a big hit, particularly from the number 22. Actually, the damage to the Porsche doesn't look that great. And I think JJ wants to get back out on the circuit. He's not getting out of his car. Either that, or he's just protecting himself from the rain. Still sitting in the car, and they're still talking, I think, to the mechanics. And Haziq O being given his briefing as to how to get himself out of harm's way. Let's have a look again. Look at the impact. The second car in. Has it already gone in? I think it may have already gone in. Or is this now coming in here? Yeah, there we go. Boom. Gosh, and quite a lot of movement from the tyre stack as well. This could possibly be a long full course yellow. Not necessarily for the removal of the cars, because look how little damage that. I mean, I think most of the damage is going to be on the rear right quarter, but it really isn't that bad. And I have to say, in my limited motorsport career, I have been in a very similar situation. There's the speed in which Hasegawa came off the circuit. And basically, as soon as you hit the brakes, the wheels lock up. Where there was grip, there wasn't any longer. And the slick tyres really do not work very well as soon as the circuit is just that little bit greasier and you are a passenger, and the brakes just don't work. You lock, you do not get any retardation, and you go flying off the circuit. Now I wonder whether race control will allow the pit window to happen, and therefore at least that will keep these gaps. Maybe that doesn't matter. Don't know if that matters. It will certainly change the way that now Sandy heading towards pit lane. I'm not sure, Sandy. It's 15 seconds before it opens, and yeah, he's having to slow the car down here because he's going to get to the line before it opens, and that will be a penalty. Needs to wait for pit window to open. He's creeping towards the area in which it does. It opens now, but did he come into the pits after or before? Oh, that'd be a silly mistake to make, particularly when looks like the Nissan has chosen to stay out on circuit. Sandy's going to get out the car. Opportunity for Hana to go and speak to him, I suppose. And Akish Nandi will be getting aboard. But interestingly, not everybody choosing to take advantage of pitting now. Has he? Oh. Almost able to drive himself out the garage. Now, wet tyres going on the Lamborghini. Now, this is really important to spot and note, because there may be some teams who decide against the wet tyre depending on the level of driver and feeling of what the conditions will do. It's relatively bright skies above us. Doesn't look like it's going to be wet until the end of the race, but those are the WHBs, the wet tyre. Playing it safe for Akish Nandi then. Now, what's going on the BMW? See what's come off it, but for the moment, can't see what is going on. We've also got the Audi of Andres Pato in the background. And out onto circuit goes Sandy Stuvik. Sorry, what was Sandy Stuvik? What is now Akish Nandi. Handing over Frankie Cheng the lead of the race. Might have to just look out the window. I'm not sure how much that's going to help me spot who's on wets and who's on dries. But also Audi coming out onto circuit. And the guy in the 18 also pitting. I think that is a wet tyre, because you can see the sidewall. Here's our leader. No, that's a dry tyre, obviously, because they started on dries. I don't know whether you want to go wets. The rain has definitely stopped, and it's only going to give you a small advantage. BMW dry tyres for the number 5. And now the rest of the field come in. Absolute Lamborghini taking wet tyres. Still got both cars, I think, in the gravel trap down at turn number 1, so it's not a particularly quick fix. You do kind of want everybody to make their pit stops first, though. What are Nissan doing? Dry tyres for Nissan, definitely dry for the 500. I suppose the only thing that Lamborghini can do if they think they've made an error is come in a second time under this pit window, under this full course yellow, and get a different set of tyres on. You are, of course, going to sacrifice your lead, but I'd rather do that now under full course yellow than do it when you're back into racing conditions. Now that, I think that might be wets on the number 11. I'd love a closer shot. There is what the wets look like on the Lamborghini. Slicks going on El Bamba's car. So that's a 61 that's at the tail of the field. Enzo Trulli will get aboard that car. But not everybody has yet pitted. And race control really want everybody to pit before they do anything. Otherwise it's going to be a real mixed up order. Number 16 with James Yuquai back out. We've still got 3 cars that haven't pitted, including our championship leaders, the 911. And we will soon know who has got wets and dries on. And actually, how has number 11 got ahead of the Lamborghini? So James Yuquai has jumped Nandi in the pits, and that can only be because the pit stop should be exactly the same time. They are both running exactly the same speed on circuit, and so the only reason that has happened is because Sandy Stuvik came to the pit lane and basically had to park up to wait for it to open. And I think Absolute have had a bit of a clanger there, because not only have they put the wrong tyres on the Lamborghini, they may well have cost Nandi the lead. So Tony Ruohan is our leader at the moment, but he hasn't pitted. Don't forget, he will also have a success penalty to take, so he'll drop further down. Laurin Heinrich's already taken his, and Anthony Liu in the 37 is now in pit lane doing his success penalty, so we'll drop even further back. And so the final 4 cars come into pit lane. Do Absolute do anything particular with this machine? It just doesn't make any sense to put wet tyres on now. Can we see through the fence? That looks like a dry tyre to me. And so even if they come from the same stable, Absolute going different ways. And I wonder whether that was advice from Stuvik at the time, saying, yeah, we need wet tyres because it's raining and wet, which is completely right. The problem is, 25 minutes to go, if it does not rain again, which to be fair, it doesn't look like it will, then the circuit will be dry. It might even be dry when we go back to green flag racing. What about that BMW? Genuinely can't see if they've gone for wet tyres, but I'd be amazed if anyone would now. So, all cars have now pitted. That's what race control were waiting for. And we will have a new order. James Yuquai leads, Akish Nandi in second position, but on wet tyres for sure. Miyake third, and then Liu Kai-shun in fourth position. So that's also been a change. The Nissan has got ahead of the Harmony Racing Ferrari. And now coming out the pits, a little bit of a race at 60 kilometers an hour here. I think Verhagen got out just ahead of Sepinen. Race direction will be able to advise, and they will then say to either team swap positions or whatever. I'm not entirely sure whether Neil knows, but that basically is as it was then, isn't it? Because the Mercedes was ahead of 2 BMWs and then the 911, so that stayed the same. So those are our top 4. Speculation as to whether that 96 car might have wets, but I don't think so. I don't think anybody at this stage would do that now. But what I really don't understand is, it looks slicks to me, very briefly able to see as he turned through the corner. But I think before we compress the field, the guys at Lamborghini need to make a call and get Nandi back in and on slicks. Yes, he's going to drop positions, but the field is spread out around the circuit, so he's not going to slot into last, whereas if they wait until the safety car, he is going to slot into last, and if they wait any further, then it's going to be an absolute disaster. We've now got the 20 car out of the gravel trap. Yes, Lamborghini coming into the pits. Let's go down to the pit garage with Hana.
Sandy, you had a beautiful stint. Unfortunately, something happened at the pit. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, the rain started coming down, so since the pit window was opening under the FCY, we thought, okay, we'll box for wets. It was kind of my mistake because it was really coming down at one point at the back. So I told the team that, and then we decided to put the wets on, but then as soon as we did, it just completely stopped raining, and now it's dry, so we're back in to put dries on. So basically our race is over. Now Akash can try to fight, but we're quite far back now, so we'll see what we can do.
That's very unfortunate, but fingers crossed for Nandi.
Not a fantastically fast pit stop either. And interesting to note that the 15 was also in, so Phantom did make the same error with Jackson Evans, and Evans has gone out on circuit and gone, nah, this is not the right tyre to be on, guys. So he's had to make a second stop, which is a bit of a disaster, and safety car gets called before that 15 gets out onto circuit. So cars now are able to catch up to the back of the safety car, so they can drive at full speed, which means this 15 is going to be further compromised. Actually not going to lose too many positions on track. May have lost one to car 77, which is the Craft Bamboo Mercedes, and there is our Toyota Supra safety car. Was it earlier I was saying that we don't get safety cars as often as we used to? Well, we have now. So that's completely undone all of the good work of our competitors, particularly of our silver competitors. And where has the Lamborghini dropped down to? I think Akash Nandi was at the back of that queue, which is 13th spot. James Yu Kwai and Frankie Cheng, they are leading now. It's Miyake in second position in the Nissan. Then Liu Kai-shun, Eddie Seppänen, and Neil Verhagen, the first of the pros, in fifth. We've got BMWs first and second in Pro-Am. Ghiretti in seventh spot. There's Usen. But we will have to watch out for those a bit further back. Ayhancan Güven, 20th position. That's going to be fun for the Turkish driver, the DTM champion from 2025. As I mentioned in our qualifying show, never been to this circuit before, but knows it like the back of his hand, having raced it on iRacing. It's one of the circuits that you get given when you start your iRacing life. It's not a circuit that you have to buy, like so many others. There is the car that went flying into the barriers, and I have to say, barely a scratch on it. There's not going to be a huge amount of work for Absolute to do on that car. So unlucky for Haziko. So Bakler 19th, Güven 20th. Those are two cars to watch out for at the very tail of the field. Jackson Evans 15th position, and Nandi 13th position. Not sure how much Nandi is going to be able to make up there. And then Laurin Heinrich in 10th position. Interesting that Sandy Suvik saying that it was his fault, made the wrong call. on the tyres. Sort of made the wrong call about when to come into the pits as well, because he parked up pretty much as he came into pit lane to get himself in, and he was just a bit too early. At the tail of the field, Enzo Trulli, the son of Jarno Trulli, who is a silver driver. He's part of the Porsche Pacific program, having been runner-up in last year's Carrera Cup Asia. Runner-up to Dylan Pereira, although Dylan Pereira took almost all the victories, I think, in last year's championship. Ghiretti, the champion the year before in Porsche Carrera Cup Asia. Now, must be getting close to the safety car coming in. In fact, where is the safety car? I think that the lights are out on the top of the safety car and we are getting ready. Nothing on my timing screens to suggest that, but the cars are hanging back. And yes, lights are out. Safety car heading towards pit lane. Say that James Uquai controlling the field here from quite a long way around the lap. He might get given a penalty for not staying close enough to the safety car. I mean, literally halfway through the lap, he let the safety car go. And now he's going quite early here to try and get a jump on Miyake. The number 16 looking for his second win of the year. James Uquai looked good in qualifying in this Audi. Will start on the front row for tomorrow's race, but he heads off into the unknown. How much grip is there out on circuit? And leads after 18 laps with 19.5 minutes remaining. Uquai, Miyake, Kaishun, Seppänen, Verhagen. That is your top 5. Then Seiji Ara in the second BMW. Ghiretti, looks like he's defending Ghiretti from Usain in 7th position. Good restart from the BMW. And again, that straight line speed that the guys at Porsche have been moaning about lacking. It's going to be hard to defend from that big BMW. It looked like it got good traction out of the final turn. Lots of weaving and side-by-side going on. Neil Verhagen trying to go round the outside of Elias Seppänen in the Mercedes. Seppänen holds the inside line and covers that one off and gives him a bit of an elbow as well. Seiji Ara therefore runs alongside, gets on the brakes. Did the BMW swap position further back? Yes, he did. So Ghiretti losing a position to Usain in 7th position there. And now 3 BMWs in 5th, 6th and 7th. Really strong from the Munich brand. Further back, Ogawa and Kotaka there in 10th and 11th position. Drive-through penalty for the 61 car. That's okay. That is the Earl Baumer Motorsport machine. Probably haven't had a chance to set their drive-through, their pit lane speed limiter, and so given a full being given a penalty for, was it pit lane or was it full course yellow speeding? Hang on. Get the race control message up. Full course yellow speed, yeah. So again, another button that you set a speed at, and it looks as though perhaps the Earl Baumer guys haven't been able to set that, or it's set at a different speed because the previous race that it did had a different speed. I think it was last raced in Dubai at the start of the year, that car, so it's been sitting in the container for a long time. Right, so Ghiretti in 8th position, losing ground to 3 BMWs ahead, falling into the clutches of Laurin Heinrich, and Seppänen doing a big defence again into turn number 5. Side by side, Seiji Ara with the elbows on Maxime Hussein. And you have to say that Laurin Heinrich looks the stronger of the 2 Porsches here in 8th and 9th position. 2 professional Porsche drivers fighting for their AMs, fighting for the championship as well. And they're all backed up behind what looks to be a slightly struggling Mercedes in these slightly slippier conditions. Big gap between our front 2, James Uquai and Miyake, and then in 3rd position, Liu in the Ferrari in 3rd spot. Sepinen moving around in the middle of the road. There doesn't seem to be much of an opportunity to overtake into turn number 1, so they all stay line astern. Oh, but that's a good move there. Great move from Verhagen down on the inside of Sepinen, and he's got past the Mercedes into turn number 2, just out of the eye of our camera shot, and basically dive bombed Sepinen when he really wasn't expecting it. And I don't think anybody was expecting a pass there. But Sepinen really struggling. Look how slow he is out at turn number 5. And the next one to come past is going to be Seiji Yara. Heinrich on the tail of Ghiretti as well. Side by side into 5, Mercedes and BMW, and the 2 Porsches. This is an easy one to defend though, and there's a bit of contact, I think, as Ghiretti forces Laurin Heinrich wide. A bit naughty. It's getting very ugly up ahead of them as well. But I think, for the moment, Sepinen has forced Ara to stop, and another dive bomb there from Laurin Heinrich. Maybe another contact between the 2 Porsches. So slow around this part of the circuit, they are almost on top of each other, having to have this 2-car battle whilst there's a 3-car battle going on up ahead. Very entertaining racing. 15 minutes remaining. James Yu Kwai leads by 1.1 seconds over Miyake, but then there's a big chunky 5.2 seconds to that battle now with Verhagen and Liu Kaixun. Now Verhagen made a pass here, and he's going to do the same thing again. Whoa, very close into 3. It's not, there's no braking zone there. That's why it's very unlikely to dive bomb down the inside, because you don't really have any retardation, but you can drive a shorter line. And Verhagen, who is also heavily involved in sim racing with BMW, trying maybe a sim racing move there. It didn't work out, but it might work out at the end of turn number 5, because Verhagen is really in the gearbox, in the back boot of that Ferrari 296. Liu Kaixun, oh, good dive bomb there from Max Husend on Seiji Yara. BMW against BMW, and that is how to get it done. And here comes Verhagen in another place you don't seem to see overtaking, down the inside of turn number 7, and has the inside line for the braking zone coming towards us now. Verhagen slips himself up into 3rd position. Liu Kaixun 4th, then Sepinen. Husend now up to 6th, Arid down to 7th. Ghiretti and Heinrich still squabbling. I tell you, Güven up to 15th position, so he's making moves. Nandi's only made 1 in his Lamborghini, up to 11th. Oh, and the LM Corsa Ferrari pulling out of 10th. That's a shame for that yellow machine. We see quite often LM Corsa retiring from races. It's very unlike GT3 cars to have technical problems. But Ogawa brings that yellow car in and out of 10th spot, promoting Nandi into a points-paying position. There he is. And he's followed by Evans, who's had a really good first couple of laps. Verhagen setting off to pursue the 2 silvers at the head of the race. Remember, BMW have never won in GT World Challenge Asia. He's got 13 minutes to correct that. And he's got nobody now. We'll have to see what the lap time is. As it stands in Pro-Am, Wei Lu would jump to the head of the standings by 6 points, so a 10-point swing. Wei Lu on Huang and Ghiretti. But Heinrich has got ahead of Ghiretti. Did we see that? I don't think we did. And Ghiretti and Absolute definitely struggling in their Porsches in a way that for some reason Origin are not. I wonder if Güven can get some points for the 37. He's in 14th spot now, but points about 7 seconds away, so could be tricky. On board with Miyake, 29.9 his last lap time. James Yu Kwai ahead of him, fastest lap of the race at 29.5. So faster than Verhagen, who did a 29.7, but that shows the pace of the guys behind, because next car 31-1 for Ayhancan. And Seppänen really struggling here. Usen all over the back of him. And this, of course, for Silver Ram lead as well. To the outside. You have to go all the way around the outside of the hairpin to have the inside for the next turn. And it's an easy one to defend. Seppänen just elbows Usen, as Usen had done a few laps ago on Seijiara. You have to be a little bit more creative than that, and Verhagen has proven it's possible. And actually, Usen's little dive bomb on Ara was pretty cheeky as well. Now Heinrich going at Ara as well. When you go around the outside, surely that's not possible. Ara's got good front end on that BMW. He's being very polite to Laurin Heinrich, and Heinrich's going to sweep around the outside for that position. Very polite from Seiji Ara, the 51-year-old. Heinrich with his girlfriend, I think his whole family actually here this weekend in support. And he moves himself up into 7th, which is 2nd in Pro-Am. I'm not sure there's going to be much more progress than that. Here is Akish Nandi in 10th position on the tail of this little group. He's got Jackson Evans breathing down his neck. He's got Ghiretti to try and pass. Not that easy. Whatever the complaints about the 911 are at the Absolute camp, they'll be disappointed, but you have to say Origin seemed to have unlocked something possible, because Heinrich looks fast in the number 11, and it's exactly the same as what we saw in Fuji last time out. None of the Porsches featured apart from the number 11. It's clearly all down to the change of colour in the number. The AM battle, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 AMs, all line astern. Mike Joe leading. Yamatatsu in his first race in GT3 in the Garage 75 car. And then in the 22, it's Zhongwei Wang Zhongwei, and Ben Porter in the 4th of that little gaggle. I love it. Battle for first. Well, all 4 of our remaining AM cars. We lost the 5th of them, Hazuko. We lost JJ Song when that rain came, and Ogawa has retired the LM Corsa Ferrari. So line astern, but not a lot of challenging going on in the AM field. We'll keep half an eye on that as we pick up our leader, James Yukwai. Still with 1.5 seconds of an advantage over Miyake, and Yukwai, Miyake and Verhagen all lapping pretty much exactly the same pace. But there's a big pace differential to this next battle. Ayhancan holding on to 3rd in silver. Oh, here comes Jackson Evans down the inside of Akish Nandi. Gets it done. I think Nandi was a little bit polite there as well, wasn't he? And that drops Nandi out the points, more importantly. So he'll want that position back. Ghiretti still hasn't managed to find a way past Seiji Ara. And Ara was quite polite with Laurin Heinrich. We have now only got 7 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. Lights still flashing on the back of the car. Clouds have started to build again. Wonder whether we'll get another spitting before the end of the race. We've got the Japan Cup race coming up after this. I wonder whether they're being reserved for that. Pit lane speed limit infringement for Elias Seppänen. Oh no! Leading Silver Ram's going to be dropped out of 5th position. But more importantly, by being released, I think Usen will enjoy that, because I'm sure that Max feels like he's been slightly held up by the Mercedes. It's been really struggling, certainly in those early laps. Heinrich looks close to Usen. Not quite close enough, actually, on this shot. It's the other way around, isn't it? It's more foreshortened as Usen moves around in the mirrors of Elias Seppänen. Is it Elias Seppänen or is it Elias Seppänen? Because it depends on where the accents are. I don't think we've got any accents. Google that for the next race, as I've now learnt after 4 years that it's actually a Neil Verhagen and not Neil Verhagen. So fiddly, these 2 hairpins at the end of the lap. It compresses the field so much that they all look like they're on top of each other. Seppänen moves into moves into the pit lane and releases Usain, and I wonder whether that slightly confused Usain, because Heinrich right under the rear wing of the BMW now as they come down the main straight. Again, not close enough to make a move. Oh, and the wiper's going back on. Just a little bit. And there is a couple of raindrops falling on my commentary box window once more. Now, these pro drivers will be much better at adjusting to the conditions if they get worse. But certainly doesn't look fantastic on board. The wiper goes. There's not a huge amount falling. And really, we have to have a look at the lap times. Miyake had a slow last lap of 30.2. Ooh, and what's happened? I think Ghiretti's had a challenge on Seiji Ara that's not worked out for him, and it's put him into the clutches of Jackson Evans. Nandi will like a look at this. Perhaps he can pick up some pieces here. Goes to the outside, but there's no space to go around the outside there. And ahead, suddenly cars are slithering around once more. Usain down the inside of the Ferrari. There's contact between the two of them. The Ferrari gets moved out of the way, but I'm sure Usain's going to get a penalty for that. That's a real shame. A clumsy move, and Heinrich goes all the way around the outside of the Ferrari as well. Liu Kai-shun, just in these unpredictable conditions, starting to struggle, and more rain falling on the main straight. Really have to be careful into that braking zone into turn number 1 now. We saw earlier on how easy it is to throw it off. Usain's okay, Heinrich's okay, Kai-shun okay. But the rear end of that Ferrari twitching as he desperately tries to get the power on. There is Nandi. He'll be wanting those wet tyres back in a few moments' time. Back up to 10th position because of Seppänen taking his penalty. And only 4 minutes remaining. Can they survive this rainstorm? It's not as strong and as heavy as it was before the safety car period. But nervous times, the lap times way out from where they were last time. So James Yu Kwai was happily in the 29s. Last lap of 30.5. Miyake a 31.0. There is Miyake, but he's still comfortably ahead of Neil Verhagen, who also was a second slower on that last lap due to that slight rain shower. It doesn't look, it's really compromised the grip that much, but it's more the confidence, I think. Pro-Am leader Neil Verhagen, 3rd for BMW. 4th is also a BMW, but I'm a bit worried about Max Usain, the way he got past Liu Kai-shun. That contact shoveled out the way was Liu Kai-shun, and Max Usain didn't mean it. There's absolutely not, but he also did not give the place back and has scuttled off up the road. He will suggest that Kai-shun shut the door on him. Here are those 4 AMs, no change in positions there. Mike Joe still leading. I'm surprised that Ben Porter hasn't actually made his way through this little pack. In fact, Ben Porter's dropped a position. He's 4th now. Usually we see Ben the star of the show in the AM category. Oh, side by side Ghiretti. Is that Jackson Evans going around the outside of Ghiretti? I think it might be. Ghiretti's got a real problem coming out of perhaps turn 5. Does a good job of defending Jackson Evans, but the 911's our championship leader, and it's barely holding on to championship points here. Ron Huang said it gets off the corners well, but it just doesn't seem to be getting off the corners down at turn number 5. A little bit of rain on the lens here. Jackson wasn't able to get past, but it's again not fantastic point scoring for 911, who had a pretty miserable weekend in Fuji by their standards, a 6th and a 9th, but previously had a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd and a 4th. So this will equal, if Ghiretti loses another position, their worst result so far. It's been a miserable trip to Japan for the 911 Absolute Porsche team. Heinrich on the tail of Hussein. Don't know if race control are going to have a chance to investigate or penalise Max Hussein, if indeed they feel they need to. With 48 seconds remaining, we think we'll get one more lap out of this one. Again, look, in the background, side by side for Ghiretti and Jackson Evans able to go to the outside. Now this is where Akish Nandi needs to try and take advantage somehow of those two squabbling. Well, he just can't do it, can he? But Ghiretti, just so vulnerable going into that turn, has to sit on the inside line, and it works out for him. The defence works, and actually Jackson Evans now looking in his mirrors momentarily. But to the line, one more lap for James Yu Kwai. A winner here in 2024 with Akish Nandi. A winner earlier on in the year with Frankie Cheng. It will be his 5th victory if he can get this one done over the last 3 years. And he's got a really good chance of repeating it tomorrow. A solid drive from James Yu Kwai. There's his teammate in the 15 car. That's Andres Pato. It's Frankie Cheng, who's the man who's going to be celebrating on his 69th race start. And Frankie, with 3 wins to his name, a very, very successful pairing coming into the weekend. But you have to say, you did not expect Audi to take a victory here in Okayama. Expect the unexpected. And these guys clearly have done a fantastic job down at Phantom. Not so much perhaps for the Porsche. Some work to do overnight to see if they can extract more performance from the 37. But James Yu Kwai, untroubled, comes around the final turn, and it will be victory number 5 for James Yu Kwai. Victory number 4 for Frankie Cheng, and for their championship challenge, wondrous. Miyake to the line in 2nd spot. 3rd position for Verhagen. 4th for Max Hussein, and a silver AM victory for him, with Laurin Heinrich following over the line. Liu Kaishen, 3rd in silver. Then Ara, Ghiretti, Evans and Nandi. And here's the fight for the AM victory, and it is going to be Mike Joe who's going to take the victory by the looks of things, to repeat what he did in Fuji and in Mandalika race 2. And a man who last took Mercedes' overall victory takes the AM fight with all of those AMs together. Just split by Elias Seppänen, who's coming through them at the very end. But again, I mean, James qualified 2nd amongst all the pros. So if he holds his own tomorrow, a really good chance that it could be a double victory. I don't know if that's ever been done. I'll have to go and spend all evening looking at the records, but it could well be a possibility. Entertaining that. Perhaps not the fight for the lead, but great overtaking from Neil Verhagen. Really muscular drive in the 2nd half. He wins Pro-Am because we've got 2 silvers that are going to hurt a lot tomorrow. Don't forget that you get extra 15-second penalty if you are a silver silver pairing, and so that actually is going to be James Yu Kwai and Frankie Cheng's downfall tomorrow, isn't it? It isn't going to be, yes, they're starting second on the grid, but they're going to have a it's an 11-second extra, so they're going to have a 26-second penalty. Miyake will have a 21-second penalty, and then Verhagen will have a 5-second penalty because he's a pro-am entry. So they won't be able to do the double unless something happens, but you never quite know. As per usual, the fighter, the lion that is inside the car is a friendly pussycat outside of it. James Yu Kwai applauds himself, congratulates the team, and that very understated celebration. Didn't really have to do much, did he? It wasn't as though he had a big fight with Miyake. I'm surprised race control didn't look at his race restart, because he did fall back from the safety car very, very early on. But it's good for him. I'll tell you what, there is not many drivers who have won 5 races in GT World Challenge Asia. There's at least a little collection of drivers that have won 6, but actually James Yu Kwai has won 5 because he won this year, so that is his 6th race victory. That's annoying that my stats were not completely correct. So he now joins Picariello, Bob Wan and Leo Yi with 6 race victories. And yes, those 3. So that means that Frankie Chen has won 5 now. So my so that's a very very successful pairing between the 2 of them. And for Audi, a 2nd victory here in Okayama and a 16th victory in total. Let's go down to Hannah Burton, who is with our race winners.
Congratulations, you guys, on your win. You are a GT Academy point contender. What does this win mean for you?
Just like any other win, it's it's a great reward for the team, for my co-driver who's been putting so much effort into making this weekend, amazing. Just really happy.
And that looked like a pretty scary stint with the rain coming in all of a sudden. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, and it was a bit tricky, but I think the team made a fantastic call on staying slick tires, which we benefit a lot for the overall win. And again, big thanks to the team, and also James has been amazing this weekend. Yeah.
You both did a good job. Congratulations. 3.
Shame about the silver penalty for tomorrow, because it would be amazing to see them do the double. But I suppose the whole point of that is to try and prevent people from doing the double. Nissan with a very strong result. That will be their best result of the year. Of course, they did take a victory last year, didn't they? Eventually. And in 2024, 1 victory, but yet to get a victory this year. And yet to have a victory here as well. But they won't be doing that tomorrow either, because they have a decent silver penalty. Let's go down to 3rd position. That was our Pro-Am victors, Neil Verhagen.
You had a very amazing stint today with some very aggressive passes. What gave you the confidence to have those passes?
Yeah, I think generally I'm liking the wet conditions, especially the slicks in the wet. Yeah, I think I had quite a bit more confidence than the rest around me today on the damp conditions, especially at the end. Then when it started to rain again a little bit harder, we started to catch massively the front runners. I wish there was more rain throughout the entire stint. Maybe we could have then won overall, but yeah, in general was a great race. BMW and Team KRC provided a great car, and yeah, Tony did a great job in the first stint, and yeah, we are on the podium now, so can be very happy with that.
P1 in your class, is this the result you were expecting for today?
No, actually, because we have a success penalty from Fuji, so really we were expecting a lot less, and you know, the weather favored us quite well, and yeah, so the results were very good. Thank you.
Congratulations to you both.
BMW have got a really good position tomorrow, don't forget. And with, yeah, an all Audi front row, it's going to be interesting. But BMW got a great opportunity tomorrow as well. So Climax Mercedes with the AM victory, Team KRC with the Pro-Am victory, Silver Am to a BMW as well. And our overall victors, the Silvers, by 1.9 seconds in the end. 4 seconds back, but closing in was Team KRC. And then Maxu Sen in 4th position, with Heinrich also getting past the Harmony Racing Ferrari in those difficult conditions. Liu Kai-shun struggling down to 6th. Best result for a long time for Team Study in 7th position. I'll have to see when they last were in 7th spot. Ghiretti, a couple of points for Absolute in 8th. And then Jackson Evans 9th, and Nandi does get a single championship points in for the Lamborghini, but really should have been so much more. Here are the highlights of race 1 here in Okayama. Sandy Stuvik on the pole position, alongside him Frankie Chen. There's a little bit of kissing, a little bit of argy-bargy going into turn 1, and a tiny kiss gave a puncture to Anthony Liu in the number 37. That contact there, no harm done to Frankie Chen. That contact, no harm done to Frankie Chen, but tiny bit of contact to Anthony Liu, and he had to pit for a new right rear tyre. Then the rain came, and it sent 2 cars heavily into the barrier at turn number 1. Both drivers were okay, but it quickly brought out the full course yellow to recover the cars, and the pit window at the same time, but the rain stopped. So then there was no need to put wet tyres on, everyone choosing to go slicks. Unfortunately, other than the leading 29 Lamborghini that went for the wet tyre, actually lost time waiting to go into pit lane as well, and emerged in 2nd position. It then pitted a 2nd time to put dry tyres on before going back out on the circuit, and fell outside the top 10. Then we went back racing with the pro drivers, and we're expecting some fireworks from the Porsche particularly that were right in the middle of the pack, but no such doing. The pace at the front was so good. James Yu Kwai scampered off into the distance, pursued by Miyake. Star of the show with the BMWs, Maxu Sen, a little bit robust on his pass of Liu Kai-shun. And Laurin Heinrich being able to take advantage of that particular one. The other big star was Neil Verhagen, who was carving his way up into 3rd position overall. But at the front of the field, unchallenged, James Yu Kwai, win number 6. For him, Frankie Cheng's 5th victory and Audi's 15th. Happy days for the championship for the silver-silver pairing. And so to the podium ceremonies, and as we have come to expect over here in Asia, another sexy podium.
World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS at Okayama International Circuit. We will start this ceremony with the GT3 overall winners.
Hannah Burton with the presentation.
Overall, in 3rd place, Tony Ron Kronfan and Neil Verhagen.
And onto the third step of the overall podium. Team KRC.
Our number 500, Takayuki Aoki and Atsushi Miyake.
Verhagen with a fourth position in the opening weekend in Sepang. We've had different BMW drivers in that car since. Max Hesser last time out of Fuji, Jesse Krohn before that. So great to have Verhagen back, and did a good job in those greasy conditions. What about that then? BMW, Nissan and Audi. No Porsche on the top three positions. Founder of Dixel, one of our long-term partners here in GT World Challenge Asia, congratulating our overall drivers. Good to see the Nissan up there. That's their first overall podium of the year. They've had class victories in silver last time out of Fuji. And the flags flying. Didn't see whether we had the big flag bearer that we had in Fuji. Massive Nissan flag flying throughout the day. Don't think we have one here.
All together now for a photo.
And so the podium celebrations for the overall are first of a few podiums to get through this afternoon as the sun begins to beat down once more. Very unpredictable conditions here at Okayama this weekend. I look out my window and all I can see is forest. Forest everywhere. And no doubt that controls the conditions here. The champagne sprays on the podium in Okayama for race one of GT World Challenge Asia. An entertaining encounter with perhaps an unpredictable victory and another strong performance from Audi, a brand that of course is focusing itself purely on Formula One, has removed customer racing support in its TCR category and pretty much in GT3. A car 10 years old, and this is what it's done to the championship standings. Lu Wei leads now by just 2 points over Ghiretti and Huang. But look how close Frankie Chen and James Yu Kwai are to the lead of the championship, just 7 points off, with Anthony Liu a further 7 points back, and then Tony Ruohan in 5th spot. Of course, we still have one race here at Okayama and 2 weekends in China to go, so let's not read too much into the championship standings yet, and one race affects the other, of course. So tomorrow, James Yu Kwai and Frankie Chen will really struggle to score points, whereas the two Porsches ahead of him might have easier run of things. Might. Akish Nandi down in 12th position in the overall standings that he was so hoping to fight for this year. That was his aim as a single silver driver.
Laurin Heinrich.
And so to the Pro-Am standings, and third in Pro-Am, team study. What a result for a team study. BMW clearly a strong car around here this weekend as the KRC guys take the top step of the Pro-Am podium. But I have to say, Team Study have really, really excelled themselves there. As I say, no points so far this year, and they find themselves, okay, 7th overall, but winning on the podium in the standings. They haven't been all year either. Don't forget, we've got Japan Cup racing coming up for you from Okayama, and we've got racing from the Nürburgring and America. So plenty of GT racing for you to enjoy on your happy Saturday. So photos then for the Pro-Am podium. Just trying to see the last time that Team Study were on a podium. Because they are long-term supporters of GT World Challenge, but not necessarily often seen on the podium. Of course, one more race for these race suits to do. Don't want to get them too smelly, otherwise it's laundry overnight. And Study not taking part in 2024. Pro-Am driver standings sees Lu Wei with an increased advantage over Ghiretti and Ruohan in that championship, and Anthony Liu in third spot, with Andres Pato and Jackson Evans up in 5th position, ahead of Boccolacci, Heinrich, Piccirillo and JJ Song. Of course, Song was one of the retirements, and so we didn't get a chance to see Brendan Leach. Didn't look like too much damage to either of those cars that went into the wall down at turn number 1, so hopefully not a particularly late night for the mechanics down there.
Founder of Dixel, to award the trophies.
So the trophies once again for our silver podium. David Chen, owner of Harmony Racing, alongside Liu Kaishun, who definitely struggled in those slipperier conditions in the Ferrari. And to be fair, it looks like a pretty stiff machine, right? So hard to lean on in the more slippy conditions where you want compliance from the chassis.
Next, we invite Yusuke Akiyama, president of Okayama International Circuit, to present the Mimasaka Mayor Award to the winner.
And the Mayor Award going to Frankie Chen and James Yu. Our 2 silver drivers. And genuine championship contenders now. They're going to lose points, I think, tomorrow. And if they can keep really racking them up, then by the time we get to Shanghai, should be in a good position. Beijing next time up, home race for Frankie Chen. Actually, think that Shanghai perhaps is the home race for James Yu Kwai, if I remember correctly. And here's what the silver standings look like. Nandi now 10 points behind the Audi, and actually on the same points as Aoki, because Miyake missed the first weekend, so he is behind Liu Kaishun. And Kaishun 20 points. Highly competitive silver field if you look at those people on that list there. Obviously, Adley Fong not with us this weekend, which is a bit of a shame. Harmony Racing missing 1 car. Adley having to do it on his own, if you remember, last time out.
And in first place, car number 10, Brian Lee and Maxime Oustin.
And now to the silver Am. And there's Max. 4th position overall. Another silver Am victory.
Masahiko Ida, founder of Dixel, to award the trophies.
Max Hussein, no stranger to the silver Am podium. Real shame for the Mercedes of Climax Racing, because Elias Seppänen was doing a really good job of holding on to a top 10 before that penalty for, what was the penalty for?
Next,
number 81.
Yusuke Akiyama, president of Okayama International Circuit,
Pit lane
to
speed
present the
limit.
Mimasaka Mayor Award
really silly little penalty to be given and to be dropped right to the tail of the field. Otherwise, that definitely would have been one of their best results of the year. Either way, still third position in Silverham.
And champagne time!
And Alabama Motorsport, the fourth Silverham car, finishing down last position. They also had that drive-through penalty for full course yellow speeding. So a little thing to correct for tomorrow. Experience gain for Adrian De Silva and for Enzo Trulli on a very difficult weekend for them. I love the fact, I've just seen a banner outside my window that says "We love Enzo." So we have some Italian fans out in the grandstands. Well done to Lili Chow. Feeling that Lili Chow's got a pretty strong grid position for tomorrow as well. Yeah, happy days for BMW, there's no doubt about that. So Max Hussein and Brian Lee lead the Silverham standings on equal points to Jiatong Liang. And then the number 25 in third position. I don't know if we mentioned that. Missing from this weekend, having crashed on Thursday, weren't able to repair the car, so had to be taken back to the workshop. And so unfortunately, no Uchiyama or Kondo, and therefore I'm expecting them to drop further down the field.
In second place, car number 75, Cold Max and Yamatatsu.
Now, there is the faces. Oh, blimey. Oh, blimey.
And in first place, car number 8, Setiawan Santoso and Joe.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody fall onto a podium before. Which one's Cold Max? I think Cold Max is the one on the right-hand side. I think that might have been Cold Max.
To award the trophies.
Taking it to the max. But great to welcome a new AM pairing to the grid. Cold Max and Yamatatsu. And right in the mix of things. Second position on their first attempt. And hopefully that means they might come to China with us. Obviously Japanese competitors from the Ferrari Challenge Japan, so I guess this will be very much a one-off, and maybe David Tipcho Bantoro wants his car back. But another victory for Mike Joe. That's his third AM victory of the year, alongside Setiawan Santoso. Two long-term Mercedes stalwarts coming together for this year. And the domination that we saw from the Absolute Racing Porsche guys earlier on in the year, not so evident here, maybe feeling the same woes as their Pro-Am counterparts. There we go. The champagne sprays. And if Cold Max didn't want to have any attention, or maybe wanted to be a secret, well, I'm afraid he may go viral with his podium mounting exploits. 3 points separate Origin Motorsport from Climax, and those two really are fighting out at the head of the field with a disappointing result, I have to say, for Ben Porter. Would have thought he'd have carved his way through those AMs, but clearly, unfortunately, unable to do so. Well, that must be all the podiums wrapped up then, with our celebration of the AMs. More GT World Challenge racing for you tomorrow morning. If you are in Europe, it's very much tomorrow afternoon here in Japan, but we still managed to get another race in for you. Japan Cup coming up in a few moments, so stay online with us as Europe begins to wake up, and then there'll be plenty more action for you from the Nürburgring, and rolling into the evening when America begins their action from Road America.